All right. Welcome, everyone, and good morning. Thanks for taking time to come and learn today about leadership. I'm happy to have all of you join, especially on a snowy morning. I'm down in Cedar City for those that don't know, and I'm interested for those up along the Wasatch Front. Has it been snowing up there this morning as well? No. Oh man. Okay. Well, we're getting it this morning down here. So that was a cold welcome on my way to the gym this morning and a pleasant surprise. So man, gorgeous sunshiny day, huh? Yeah, I gotta love living in Utah. All right. Well, thanks again for joining off the shelf this morning. Happy to have all of you be here. We're gonna get jumping. There's a lot of good information in our discussion today. And so I want to get through some of these logistics here quickly. First and foremost, as you're mostly aware, if this isn't the first time you're here, we record these and then we publish them on our YouTube channel, so they're always available to go and watch at any time, along with the slides. So if you would like to sign up for those, just get our YouTube link there and you can have access to all of the off-the-shelves that we've ever done. But this is being recorded. And this is me. I love this, seeing a huge picture of my face in front of all of you. But my name is Sydnee. I'm one of the consultants slash instructors, HR specialists here on the leadership and organizational development team with the Division of Human Resource Management. And doing off the shelf is absolutely one of the favorite parts of my job. So I live in Cedar City, and most of you probably have seen my face around. I've been there with HR now for a few years, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here this morning. All right, and then more importantly than seeing my big face is I get a chance to say thank you to all of you. We all work in various positions in various parts of the state, doing a variety of different things to make our state function the way that it does and to be effective in our day-to-day work, so that we can all enjoy living here. And so thank you for making excuse me, sorry, my computer had a glitch there for a second. Thanks for making time to dedicate yourselves to working for the state of Utah. Thank you for making a difference in my life, not just as a citizen, but also as an employee. And thank you for dedicating yourselves to continuing the good work that's being done across our state. Next month, we usually skip December, but because of the way that Thanksgiving lined up, we hosted this the first week of December, obviously. But last Wednesday of every month is when we typically hold off the shelf. So our next off the shelf here will be presented by Tara. If you have not participated in one of Tara's off the shelves before, man, you're in for a treat. She has got good energy. She is definitely an expert, and this topic of psychological safety is like her jam. So it should be a great, informative and critical hour-long webinar for you to attend and participate in. So please get registered. I'm sure Shane has already put that in the chat. It will also be sent out a couple more times after this to get registered for it, January 28th. So join us for that informative topic of psychological safety. It's going to be a good one. A couple other things to keep in mind. There's been, in my opinion, I think there's been this increased interest in leadership development, which makes our team really, really happy across the state. And so to better serve you in your leadership efforts, we have put together some additional resources. And so here's a few places that you can find those resources. Of course, on the Employee Gateway, we've got access to the YouTube channel there for you to get registered. Also, we have Fast Track, which are just these quick micro learnings, which are really fun. The YouTube channel there, and then we're on Instagram now too, which is great. So, okay, I just want to make sure I keep seeing Reed stop. I don't know, is everything coming through on my end okay? Okay, sorry, I just keep seeing a few comments that say that. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something, or you're not getting the best experience. So, okay, so just know these resources are available to you. Feel free to reach out if you have any trouble, but you should be able to access those directly to help you in your leadership efforts. Also, I'd just like to take a few seconds here to celebrate what's going well in all of our worlds. Like I said this morning, we're getting some snow. It's that time of year. Some of you might dread that. Come on down to Southern Utah if that's not your jam, I guess. Oh, thank you, or at least that's helpful. We obviously, some of you might be getting ready to start making some huge strides to get prepared for the Olympics. And that's an exciting thing. We're going to be hearing that, I'm sure, obviously over the next few years, but a lot of involvement across the state to get prepared for that, which is really exciting. Holiday cheer, of course, we are in the thick of that type of season. So what are you doing to help embrace the holiday season, but also spread some cheer around those that you interact with? And then for a lot of us, we might align with events that have to be done by the end of the calendar year. So if this is a stressful time for you, man, thank you for the good work. If this is an easy time for you, thank you for that as well. It's interesting how different divisions across the state have busy times. And so take a minute if you haven't yet, and just think about, what are you celebrating? What's going well in your worlds? What's giving you the good vibes? And make sure that we're having some discussion about that. All right, I wanted to give just a quick warning. I don't even know if warning's the right word here. I've been the last while, so I'm always trying to improve, like most of us, and trying to do things better, especially a webinar is always a little bit of a struggle because there's not a lot of response. And you just kind of feel like you're talking to yourself and hoping for the best. And it, without fail, every off the shelf I have done this far, I have expressed emotion. And I always get a little funny about it. And I have a lot of people that have reached out and appreciate that. And so I want you to know, this topic for me does generate a lot of emotions. This is probably, out of all the topics that I teach, the one that I care the most about, because I am passionate about serving all of you and making your jobs easier. And so I hope as we go through today, if you start to feel any kind of an emotion one way or another, that we can have those emotions together. And in the words of my boss just a couple weeks ago, he said this to me: it's good to have feelings. And so just as a precursor to the next 50-ish minutes that we have together, you might see a little bit of emotion from me, but I'm learning to be okay with that, because this is something that I care a lot about. This is something I wanted to highlight, that as we make assignments for the off the shelves, we usually do about 2 a year between our team. And so we have a ton of time to prepare for our topic and to put the best information in here that we can for all of you to hear and be able to use. And I had this cool experience, and I'm not sure if these two gentlemen are on the call or not, and that's okay if they're not. But I had a couple weeks ago, I was teaching up at the TSOB, and we were talking just about, and for those that don't know, my husband's in law enforcement, so challenge coins are always kind of this thing around our house. And in the law enforcement world, you see challenge coins all over the place. My husband keeps having to have bigger and bigger boxes made because he's been in law enforcement for probably too long, but he has this huge collection. Well, through my time as a state employee, I have started to get a few of these challenge coins. And at first I'm like, is that really that cool? And I've kind of joked it off, and I even was like, here, honey, you can have a couple of these. This isn't that big of a deal. And then I realized probably a couple years ago, I was serving DHHS in a capacity, and I had their executive director hand me one kind of on the sly. And I thought, oh, cool. Thanks for saying thanks with another coin. And I realized, you know what? No, that is the way that people are showing their recognition and taking their time to do something kind for me. And so I've shifted my view on these challenge coins, and I'm still shifting it. But a couple weeks ago, back to teaching at the TSOB, it was a 2-day event. And I brought this up at the first day, kind of in a loose conversation with a group of people. And I'm like, oh yeah, and starting my own little collection of these or whatever. And I'm not kidding. I come to the TSOB the next morning, and one of these guys walks in and he's like, hey, I've got something for you. And he hands it to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is really cool. And it totally threw me through a loop, because it was totally unexpected. Something he did not have to do. And it was really cool. A really cool coin. I think they're all cool. They're all really unique. Anyway, I'm not kidding. Like 2 minutes before class is starting, second guy comes over and he's like, hey, I brought you this coin. And super cool. And I was like, dumb. It's like I couldn't even get up to the front of the class and start teaching, even though I had to, because I just wanted to sit there and be like, wow, people are so generous. And people, these two individuals took time, made a special effort. I think one even ran to his office, which he didn't need to do, to get these. And trust me, I'm not saying this so that anytime I see you guys, you feel like you have to give me a coin, okay? What I am saying is that it was something these two gentlemen did not have to do. And they still took the time to do it, to recognize me in a way, on just a loose 2-minute conversation, kind of a funny conversation about this. So I'm sharing that with you because it helped me as I was finalizing my content for this webinar, that, you know, recognition comes in a lot of different ways. And it's not just, hey, I want a bonus, or hey, I need a raise, or hey, I've been here for, you know, 25 years, so give me some recognition. Recognition really can be shared between all of us. And so as we go through the content today, I would challenge you to have a little bit of an open mind, and maybe even need to shift your existing mindset in terms of recognition. It is not just formal recognition. It is not just trying to get more money for our people, or trying to find a million different ways to just show our praise. We're overcomplicating, thus avoiding our ability to recognize the people around us. And so I appreciate the opportunity I had to get these two coins, which was awesome. And it just completely aligned with the content here today. This is what we're going to discuss. Just how is recognition a retention tool, and why does that actually matter? And why did I choose to have recognition align with retention? And then I've prepared for you what we've called the RISE model, and we're going to talk through that. That's the research here that's going to help us think differently about our practice in recognizing others, and then building this culture of recognition, and what that looks like for each of us in our agencies. Recognition is retention. We're going to talk about this very thoroughly, but the big picture here, it's a strategic imperative, okay, for state talent. If you can imagine, we've got what, between 23,000 employees across the state. That is a lot of different skill set, okay? And then we've got, if my number's right, about 4,100-ish supervisors that are helping to manage performance and to build and to recognize all 23,000-ish of us across the state. And so if we want to continue to operate as effectively as we do, if we want to make sure that future generations not only want to come and be employed by the state, but that our citizens are still willing to pay our wages, if you will, and still be able to serve in the capacities that we need to keep our community enjoyable, we've got to be focusing on recognition as a retention tool. So with that, this is the challenge that's going on right now, and it's not just impacting the state of Utah, it's definitely impacting other state governments as well, but there's this historically high separation rate. Okay, some of our agencies are even experiencing separations that are exceeding the amount of people they're able to hire. And this is widening our skills gap, okay, and then obviously causing some problems across our divisions. And as some of these things, we've got high competition in the private market. We have an aging workforce. Okay, we've got, just heard the other day, well, it's been a couple weeks ago, we've got several divisions that have over a 30% retirement eligible workforce. You know, and if you think about that, can you imagine if all 30%, 35% of a workforce decided to retire in one agency in the same week or same month? And so we've got some shift that's going to be happening over the next 5 to 10 years. And so when we talk about this being a strategic imperative, that's what I mean. We've got to be planning for that. And then this idea of public sector mission fatigue. Are people wanting to come and actually work in the public sector for the same reasons that people are wanting to 20, 30, 40 years ago? It's not the same. And there's not as much of the feel good, if you will, or the drive to come and be employed by the state. And so that's the challenge that we're facing. And how can we resolve this? There's lots of different things we need to be doing with succession planning and strategic planning, all of that. But recognition is the tool that we can use that's going to be the most helpful. So as a leader in state government, which most of you are on this call, right, these are the things that we need to be aware of and understand. We've got to know what's going on with our current state of our workforce. Okay, are we aware of those that are eligible to retire? Are we looking at who's going to be taking our roles when we retire? Are we giving growth opportunities and planning for people to be able to develop the skills they need to be even better leaders than what we have now? Right? Are we aware of our turnover costs? The amount of money and resources that it takes to, when we lose somebody, especially when it's a voluntary turnover, right? It's crazy. And then this idea, are we aware of the psychology of retention? Okay, and we're going to study that just a little bit here in our conversation today. But being able to build a recognized workforce is the most sustainable way to protect the public mission. Okay, and there's been an alignment the last few years with strategic plans to make sure that our mission for each of our departments, and then the vision and the values associated, right? All of our goals, the things that we work towards, should be in alignment with that. And if we want to keep our people, we've got to have a workforce that feels valued and praised and recognized. And in leadership roles, that's got to be top of mind all the time. And so how do we get there, or how do we continue to do what we're doing and do it in a better way? So that's the challenge and a solution there as to why I chose this topic. But even more so, right, I mean, that's really the safe side to this. This is the human side of why I chose this topic, okay? As a lot of you are aware, I've got my husband who works for the state of Utah. He's with the Department of Corrections. He's been with the state now for over 27 years, okay? I've been with the state now. This actually is my 9th year. I just hit that this December here in a couple weeks, so that's pretty cool. And then I think most importantly is this cute little girl that you see on the screen, Sailor here. She's got 2 years now of living in this state as a state of Utah kid. And so when I think about her future, and whether she stays living in the state of Utah or even decides to work for the state of Utah, who knows? Seems to run in my family, okay, and in my with my in-laws as well. We're kind of public sector people. I want her to be able to grow up in a state that has a functioning government that is running not just as good as it's running now, but even better. Okay, and it takes all of us to be able to retain the workforce that we have and recruit a workforce and be able to offer opportunities for people to feel valued if we want to be able to give that, not just to my little girl here, right, but to all of our posterity and for our current workforce. And so there's this human element of recognition for sure that goes into this topic. And so again, as you think about recognition, let's think bigger than just formal recognition strategies that our agencies have put together, okay, or trying to get an ASI for your employees or a bonus, but what can we be doing as humans to show recognition more often than we are, and more genuinely than maybe we are. This matters for a lot of reasons. When we have a recognized workforce, right, we talked about it protects the public mission. And in order for us to run effectively as a state government, we've got to be aligned with our public missions, okay? We've got to be serving in the way that we were designed to serve to meet the needs of our citizens. And we're able to do that most effectively when we have a recognized workforce. And the best part about recognition is it's free. Okay, and when we talk about anything leadership development, there just always seems to be a cost to the things that we want to try to do differently. And you know what? Recognition's always free, and any kind of cost associated with it is just, in my mind, a bonus. Okay, like, oh, cool, we've got some extra dollars here we can do some work with. But as a leader, this is something you always have control over, and something you're able to do that doesn't take money from anybody, and there's no budget associated with it. So that's my favorite part about it. All right, government context here. I don't want to just get into the mushy gushy of recognition and the human side, but we live in the government world, right? And so that means there's limited budgets. We have these rigid salary bands, if you will, right? And this legislative, I don't love the word scrutiny, but I used it anyway, because we're managed and regulated by the legislature. And so how does all of that, we can look at that as the red tape that maybe prevents us from being able to recognize our workforce the way that we want to. And if all we're going to do is look at what we're not able to do, we're not going to be good at supporting our workforce. So being able to look at it in a place of, okay, those are the things that might regulate our ability to have any kind of extrinsic motivation or rewards in a way that comes in financial form. But typically and historically, the things that this lever, if you will, a retention lever, right? You've got to serve for so many years before you're eligible for your to receive your benefits, and those types of things. We're able. You've got to get in your 20 years, or now your 30 years. Who knows? Maybe it's 35 years in the future. But these retention levers aren't. Are these new generations coming in? These younger generations, that's not holding the weight like it used to, or the merit like it used to, right? And so we don't get to use that as a lever as well as we used to retain employees. What employees want now is to be seen as humans, right? And being able to have this human connection in the workplace. And we do that with our ability to recognize and praise and appreciate the good work that's being done. We know these are just a handful of the reasons why talent leaves or walks out the door. Okay, there's usually some kind of pay involved, right? They can make more money somewhere else, whatever that looks like, and then some advancement. Okay, there's not a clear career path. It's like, oh, well, the only way I'll ever be able to advance if so and so retires. No, they're not going to retire for 15 more years, and so I don't know if I want to hang around for the next 15 years waiting for so and so to retire. Okay, and so as a state, we've got some work that we need to do there, and able to help people be able to grow and have a defined career path and get those opportunities so that they want to stay and keep their talent, you know, that institutional knowledge here internally. But the third piece here is this appreciation. Number one reason, non-financial reason, feeling undervalued or invisible. Okay, and as a human, who wants to feel that way? Okay, but more importantly, as an employee, who wants to feel that way, right? And so as leaders, we've got to do better. Reason why talent stays, there's a handful, but these are the two I wanted to focus on. We've got research saying 91% say that recognition motivates employees to put in more effort. Okay, we want to be careful here. We always talk about chasing the carrot, if you will. You know, how do you keep doing more with less? And then once you're as good as you can be, how do you keep getting more out of me? And then it becomes unrealistic and burnout happens. But put in more effort doesn't mean in their job, but in their relationships and their behaviors, in the human side of doing our work, and not just the technical side. Okay, and then 2 times less likely to quit if they are recognized meaningfully. Right, we're going to explore that a little bit further here in just a minute. But this is why employees want to stay, why talent wants to stay. Here's the psychology of recognition. Now, I mentioned extrinsic motivation, right, with financial incentives and those types of things. But the psychology here, this intrinsic motivation, okay, recognition, it does this cool thing. It triggers a release of dopamine, and we all know how amazing dopamine can be in our brains, okay, which actually gives us a similar response to a financial reward. It satisfies this fundamental human need for belonging and validation. And so what this is saying is, getting a $50 bonus, if you will, or any kind of a financial reward actually generates in our brains this almost similar response to being recognized. Pretty dang cool when you think about the only way I can make my employees feel valued is to pay them more money. Not necessarily, okay? When leaders validate work, they reinforce those neural pathways that connect effort to reward, which builds this habit of excellence. So kind of cool. So if there's anybody that loves studying how our brains work, hopefully you can see some value here. And that when we make this effort, okay, which is, it's going to be that, it's always going to be this effort to have our employees feel recognized, we're doing naturally this thing in their brains to help them feel like they belong and they feel validated. And what a cool thing to happen. All right. I love this. The deepest principle in human nature. Okay, we're talking about humans here again. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. And I don't even like to look at that very long because it makes me emotional. But all of us might say, oh, we don't need to be told that we do a good job, or we know if we're doing a good job or not. We don't need to hear it, right? Or our products that we produce, or our customer service satisfaction surveys, or our data shows us whether we're doing a good job or not, or whatever. That's not what we're talking about here, okay? We're talking about, as humans, we crave to be appreciated. So even if we're as good as we know that we are, or our outcomes or our data is showing that we're doing a pretty dang good job, we still want to be recognized for that. And so for those that have been around forever, you might feel this way, or even just personality differences. It's like, yeah, I don't need to be told all the time. No, all of us, right? Yeah, human nature, dog nature for sure. We all crave appreciation. How about this idea of the risk of silence? Okay, so if we decide, we don't need to tell our employees know that they're good. Our customers report that we're doing a good job. We've got audits that show that we're doing all right, and we rely on those formal strategies. Okay, and we just choose not to say anything as leaders. These are the things that can happen. I mentioned earlier that you 2 times more likely to quit. Okay, and we talk about quiet quitting in the past. You probably wouldn't even know that that's what they're going to do. And so making sure that they feel recognized. And this silence from leadership is often interpreted as indifference. And about 15, 20 years ago, I used this term indifference a lot, thinking I knew what it meant. Thinking that it meant, I don't get wrapped up in things, I'll hyper and excited and whatever, and I don't hate things. I don't love things, I don't hate things, I just feel indifferent with it. And that's not what this is saying now. When we choose to be silenced, right, we're choosing to have an absence of feedback. We're choosing not to open our mouths and just letting people know assume that the work they're doing is good enough and they don't need to be told. Okay, so this idea of avoidance or silence is one of the pitfalls that we have in terms of recognition. Or, I told them thank you already. That's good enough. I don't need to do that again. And we might, or I'm so busy, I forgot to do this, and so now it's not worth it. They know that I care about them. Okay, and so we choose to allow our busy schedules or our own heads and feelings to get in the way, and silence happens. And what we're learning here through the research is that no, we can't be silent. Okay, we've got to be opening our mouths and doing things to have conversation with our employees to let them know that they're valued. How does this impact our turnover? Well, anytime we lose somebody, man, like I said, our resources go through the roof on trying to rehire or fill that vacancy. Okay, so of course, when there's no recognition, we're going to have a lot higher turnover. When there is effective recognition, right, there's actually a 31% lower turnover rate. That's huge. Organizations, divisions with effective recognition programs, okay, so this is talking more formal recognition strategies, report 31% lower voluntary turnover rate. So this isn't those that had corrective action or things like that. This is voluntary turnover. As we get better at recognizing this kind of a secondary impact, if you will, the sense of belonging happens. 2.5 times more belonging employees report feeling, right? Especially, and this is specific to hybrid or bureaucratic government environments, belonging is glue that prevents isolation and disengagement. So when we talked about feeling like we're not valued or appreciated, right, the sense of belonging is key. And so the better we are at recognizing the better sense of our employees feeling like they belong in the workplace, which then prevents voluntary turnover and a more engaged workforce, which we definitely know through leadership is essential in order for productivity and morale to be positively impacted. So quickly, I wanted to just show, often when we talk about recognition, we talk about this idea of rewards, and I just wanted to do a comparison here just quickly, right? So when we talk about, if we're going to use financial rewards, it's the only way to recognize our workforce. Okay, the cost is going to be high, and we know that all of our budgets are limited, okay? And so that causes some problem there. Often when we do any kind of a financial reward, it's on an annual or maybe a quarterly basis. So not very frequent. This emotional impact, it feels very transactional. Okay, there's usually not emotion involved in it. And then this longevity, cool, I got a bit of a raise, or I've got my pay for performance, or oh, I got this one-time bonus, and that was helpful for my bills that month, or oh, that made me feel good, and then we go back to doing work the way that we are used to. With recognition here or praise, like I mentioned, free, okay, or low cost, recognition should be done daily or weekly. We're going to talk about that a little more in a minute. This emotional impact that it has on our employees, it builds relationships, and it has an emotional impact because connection is there. And then the longevity piece of this, there's long-term loyalty. Okay, employees are wanting to stay because they feel appreciated. And so it's kind of a shoe-in of, hey, we've got some good talent. How do we keep you from going somewhere else? Well, we make sure that you're feeling valued, and we do that by recognizing and praising and appreciating daily and weekly, which might seem like a lot to all of you, but stay tuned because it's where we're headed. Okay, we talked about these levers of retention. This is the easiest lever to retain your employees. Okay, it bypasses any kind of legislative budget approval. You do not have to get any permission from the legislature to appreciate your workforce. Okay, there is no chain of command that you've got to go up or wait on to be able to say thank you, to be able to say hello, to be able to smile. We get to bypass all of that. Okay, there's no procurement process either, which is amazing for those that live in that world. Okay, and really, it's implemented, can be done immediately by anybody. There's no waiting period for recognition. Okay, so kind of cool there. Here in bold, highest ROI, okay, so return on investment activity that a government leader can perform. So for those that talk a lot about return on investment, hey, is this something where is worth investing our time, our resources, our money, our people? This activity of recognition, yeah, highest return on investment that you can get. You want to keep your people, we'll learn how to recognize more effectively or more frequently. All right, so here's the model. This is the RISE model. This might be familiar to some of you. If not, or if it is, here's a good reminder. If this is new to you, I'm excited about that because what I hear most often when we talk about recognition across the state is that for the most part, leaders are wanting to do it if they're not doing it already. And they just don't know if they're doing it as frequently as they should, or if they do it in a different way, if it's going to be genuine or seem kind of forced. And so what I appreciate about this RISE model, it gives all of us an opportunity to pick at least one of these letters here and be able to see what am I not doing, and then celebrate what you're already doing. Okay, this isn't to take place of what you're currently doing to recognize your workforce. This is to help supplement and to get you thinking a little bit differently on how to be even more effective and impactful. So here's the model here. We've got R stands for regular. Okay, we're going to break these down a little bit further here in just a moment. I is for immediate, S is for specific, and E is for encouraging. So with R, okay, when we talk about recognition, consistency is key. Okay, recognition shouldn't just be a once in a year or once a quarter event. Okay, it's got to be habitual, especially in a leadership role. And so research says, lots of research says this, so this is interesting, okay? Being able to have one meaningful recognition interaction per week per direct report. If I had it my way, this would be on every supervisor's performance plan, is a goal to be working toward. That is how not just passionate I am, but how much belief I have that if we had our ability to be recognizing more impactfully and more regularly across the state, we would be retaining more of our people. And I hate seeing good talent walk out the door. And I'm sure all of you can feel that same way. And so does that seem like a lot once a week for every one of your employees? Well, it's going to seem like a lot if that's the way you choose to look at it. Okay, but when we talk about recognition, this isn't just, hey, I've got to do some big extravagant thing to show my recognition. Recognizing our employees can be simply saying, hello, how was your weekend? You know, hey, I noticed that it's the end of the year. How are you doing with your kids getting ready for summer? You know, it's the holidays. I know that this is a busy time with your workload. How are you feeling with that? Right? Recognizing their efforts, recognizing their timelines, recognizing their priorities, recognizing their personal priorities as well. All of that goes into alignment with recognition. Recognition to me is this ability to have social etiquette. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit further as well too. So don't overthink this. Frequency builds trust. Scarcity breeds cynicism. Okay, your employees are never going to be annoyed, maybe a little, hearing good job all the time. Okay, they might joke about it, but it's going to be there. What is going to start having cynical conversations is when they don't hear praise and appreciation from the people around them or from their immediate boss, right? It's like, oh man, I just got done with this big project and no one even said anything to me. Or, hey, I finally submitted this proposal. I've been working on it for a while. Or, hey, I met this deadline. Or I just navigated a really stressful situation with the customer and the customer left satisfied. And that felt really good. And then they go back to their office or go back to their day and they don't hear anything from anybody. We've all been there and it doesn't feel good. Okay. So it's those kinds of things, a meaningful recognition interaction per week per direct report. Our regular is the thing. So I've had people push on me a little bit with this and I like when people do that. And so they're like, well, are you telling me then that I need to be saying good job all the time? Because if I keep saying it all the time, it's not going to be as genuine. So if you're feeling that way, that's okay. I will give you this example. Most of us, when we get off of a phone call, okay, with our loved ones, we say love you at the end, or love you, or I love you, okay? Some sort of love you at the end. And if you don't, it feels weird, okay? Does that mean if we stop saying it that we don't love them anymore? No, but we've built this habitual, this habit in our relationship. It's become habitual to say love you. In the workplace, am I saying that you need to go and tell your employees love you? No, please don't. But what you can say is great job, or hey, I see you, or hey, thank you for that. Saying thank you is never going to be harmful. Okay, so please don't overcomplicate the frequency on this. Consistency is key in order to be helpful. And remember, being regular or this idea of consistent in your recognition is just one piece of the RISE model. So if you got this down, keep going. If this isn't something you do very often, there's your goal. Okay, at least once a week. Try to. I literally have had supervisors schedule it on their calendars because I know you're all busy of making this a priority. So there's different ways to try to make this a habit. Okay, the second piece here is this idea of having it be immediate. Okay, praise decays. That's fun to say. If you want to say that out loud, you can. Praise decays. Anyway, the longer you wait to recognize your employees' behavior, okay, or even performance, the weaker the connection becomes in their mind. Okay, so when you know your employees are working on things that are maybe stressful or time sensitive, or they're having to collaborate a lot, there's a lot of moving parts, or maybe they're interacting with difficult coworkers or difficult customers, or any kind of difficult situation, right? If you're not aware of those things, you need to start being aware. And then that's when we can start showing praise, okay? Or when we see good things being done, recognizing good things being done as soon as they happen. I love this example. If you see something happen in the morning, make sure you're acknowledging it by that afternoon. It takes half a second to do it. Okay, it can be a quick text, it can be a chat in the IM, it can be a quick stop by their desk, it can be, you know, seeing them in the hallway as you're walking down the office. We do not need to overcomplicate our ability to just show appreciation, and making it habitual and immediate is a good place to start here. As we do it immediately, okay, research will teaches us within 24 hours, okay, does that mean if you wait longer than that, it's not going to be as impactful? No, what it is saying is if you don't do it at all, that's where it starts to have the impact. Okay, so, but within 24 hours, it reinforces this neural pathway because it's still in the brain of the employee. Something that they work with, there's still that, the emotion going on, if you will, and then to feel that appreciation feels so validating. Okay, and then the S here, being specific. Okay, weak, I say weak here, saying great job. Is it okay to say that? Yes. Is that better to say what they did that was actually great? Yes. So an example here, right? Great job on the legislative summary. The way you synthesized the data on page 3 helped the committee make a decision quickly, right? The more specific you can be in our ability to recognize other people, it just shows that you're actually paying attention to what they're doing, okay? And it shows that your employees are being seen. And it's like, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, or you've had employees, it's like, oh, my boss doesn't even know what I do, right? If they even had an idea what I do in an 8-hour day, or what I accomplish, you know, they don't even see me, they don't see the work I'm doing, they don't get it. Yeah, so when we can be specific, it starts to prove, right, and then validate that, yeah, hey, we do see you in the expert level work that you're doing. And it becomes more meaningful. And then, of course, that builds trust and builds the relationship between you and your employees and your relationships around you, right? You can use this model to with your peers too, not just with your employees. Okay, this last one is this idea of encouraging. Okay, it shouldn't just be the boss's job, if you will, to recognize people. There should be a culture of recognition where everybody participates in it. But we do that by setting a model and encouraging those around us. So when we encourage recognition, it doesn't just look back, it starts to help us point forward. Okay, it gives us something to look forward to, like, hey, this is something I want to make a priority. I'm going to be paying more attention in the future to the good work my employees are doing. And it starts to feel encouraging to everyone that's involved. Also, when we not just encourage our employees, when employees are encouraging and recognizing their peers, okay, and when you recognize your peers or even recognize your superiors, okay, we start to connect behaviors to people's potential, and that feels really good. We actually start to know more about individuals, of what they're really, really good at, or what they want to be really good at, or what they could be good at, which then helps us to build better employee performance plans. It helps us to have a better relationship and understanding where they're at and where they want to be. It just does a lot of things, and all of that builds into this idea of having an encouraging culture of recognition, and everybody's involved in it, okay? So there is the RISE model and some examples there of how to do it, and some goals that you can start setting. This is some of the pushback that I've had through the years as I've taught on this, okay? So, and this is exact language here, I love it. So they're like, okay, Sydnee, so you're saying that I have to give praise at least once a week to each of my employees. That's what you're saying I have to do. And this is always my response. I'm not saying you have to do anything, okay? I'm not your boss. What I am, though, is an expert in knowing the impact of recognition in the workplace. And if you want to keep your employees happy, if you want to keep morale high, if you want to retain the talent that's going on, then yeah, best practice is that you find a way to show meaningful recognition at least once a week to each of your employees. You don't have to, but it definitely is going to be helpful. What about I have to start saying great job all the time? Okay, once a week seems like a lot. Yeah, no, you don't have to do this either. Okay, that's always your decision to make. But the best leaders understand that consistency is key when it comes to recognition. All right, so making sure that you start to be more regular in your recognition efforts. And then I love this. I have to take time to do this. I am so busy. So busy. We're all so busy. We're so busy that we don't even see people as people anymore because we're just focused on how busy we are. Okay. And it's one of my, I would say, pet peeves in terms of where we're at as a society, probably, and I won't go down that rabbit hole, but as a leader, you should never be too busy for your employees. You should never be too busy to be able to say thank you. There is not enough of an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour shift or day in the work week where you can't find 5 seconds to say something kind to somebody else. And so I will argue all day long, and I always joke, you can fight me in the parking lot if you want on this. No one is too busy to show recognition. So I would challenge you, if that's the way that you're feeling like this is going to take too much of your time, maybe start reprioritizing how you're spending your time. And make this part of your priority, if not your top priority, for your workforce. And remember, obviously, recognition is the highest ROI activity a government leader can perform. So if you want to be a great leader, okay, and if you want to continue to contribute to your division or department's mission and be able to retain your employees, then yeah, that's what we're saying when it comes to recognition. These are things that you need to be doing. All right, here's a couple ways of how we can implement the RISE model. Okay, obviously in our one-on-one conversations, start having conversations about it. Written notes, we're going to talk about that in just a minute because that might seem a little old school, which I love, but there's actually some real impact there. And then team shout outs. Okay, how do we get other people involved? I love this. So Sam Walton, and I don't love this just because I love Walmart. Okay, I'm one of those. I love Walmart. But he's obviously been successful throughout his career. Appreciate everything your associates do. Nothing else can quite substitute for a few well-chosen, sincere words of praise. They're absolutely free and they're worth a fortune. Okay, so I love this. Being able to choose some well-chosen, sincere words of praise, right? Speaking of praise, I've had there a lot of different. I was hesitant to actually share this, but I think it's relevant here. So I hope that this doesn't put anybody too much on the spot. But I'm hopeful that in your careers you have had people recognize you and your efforts as an employee or as a friend. And I definitely am one where written words mean the most to me. That is how I feel most recognized. I love going and reading what people have to say in the chats after we're done here and different things, just because that's what means a lot to me, is to hear or to read written recognition. But I had there on the left the thanks so much thing. My boss actually wrote this. It's been a couple years ago. And he sent an Amazon gift card. Which, did he have to do that? No. And am I saying that all of you have to send Amazon gift cards to your employees? No. Okay, especially if it's out of your own pocket. But I don't even know how much the Amazon gift card was for. I don't even know what I spent it on. Okay. But I do remember exactly what he said to me in the quick little note that came with the email. And the bottom line there is what stood out. Oh man, I knew some emotion would come out. So Sean is my husband, and for him to just say you and Sean are awesome, he was making me feel seen as a human. He recognizes not just me, but my family, and that felt really good. And so a few years later, I still remember that, because not often do we recognize our employees' families. This note here on the right, Rick on our team, you've all had the pleasure of hearing Rick. He's that guy that doesn't have a million words like me, which I appreciate about him, but the words that comes out of his mouth, it's like, you couldn't have said it any better. Like, he has just those one-liners or like one or two sentences, and he says what I could never say in a half hour. So I love that about Rick. But he randomly let me know a few months after that he had wrote this note, and I picked it up as I was walking out the door after a very, very stressful long week up at the T-Sob. And I got into the car and I was like, oh, I better read that quick note from Rick. And it made my whole week better. And it's still obviously having some impact here. But what I loved here with what he had to say is that he trusts my judgment. Okay, so when we talk about being specific, I've had people say a lot of really kind things to me, and I remember a handful of the things. I've never had somebody say that they trust my judgment. And as a coworker, okay, or as a peer, that felt so good. It felt so good to know that I've got a coworker that's willing, when we make decisions or we have to implement different things, that he trusts my judgment on that. And so this is just an example of how we can be specific in a very quick way to show recognition to the people that we work with. And this isn't just to brag, I promise, of people saying kind things to me, but to show you the human side of the impact that it has had, okay? And that you all have the ability to have this same emotional response happen to the people around you if we're willing to take the time to do it and to make it a priority. As peers, okay, again, I told you it's not just the manager's job to show recognition, but how do we show recognition, you know, kind of a 360 view, if you will. It's not just about recognizing our employees, but it's about recognizing our peers. It's about recognizing those above us. How often do we take time to say thank you to our boss, right? Or to our division directors, or to our cabinet members? I don't know that we're as great at doing that. If we want to build a culture of recognition, we've got to be willing to do a 360 view of showing our appreciation, okay? There's a action here, a challenge. I'm going to show this a little bit differently in another screen, but being able to dedicate some time in each of our meetings for people to have shout outs. I know a lot of you do this. I'm doing it more frequently. I'm making it as authentic as possible. It is a great place to start in terms of encouraging those around you to show recognition. However, all of you are in a leadership role. So what are some things that you might need to do in addition, right? Start modeling the behavior. If you're not doing it, they're not going to do it. Okay. If you want your employees and those around you to recognize one another, you've got to start it too. And I love this. We all talk about, oh, the C-suite level out in the private sector world, all of that. Leaders must be chief recognition officers. Okay, we've got to lead the way in terms of, hey, we want to have a culture of recognition on our team or in our agency, and we've got to be the ones to highlight that. And then secondly, this idea of cutting through the red tape or removing barriers. Okay, oftentimes when we want to have any kind of formal recognition, it takes time, okay, and approval. And why I shouldn't say waste that time. To supplement that in terms of this intrinsic motivation, right? Being able to show recognition more immediately, try a different approach, and not just use these barriers to prevent you from showing your appreciation. I hear that all too often. All right, so lastly here then, how can we start having things that we just do at random in terms of recognition to become now just who we are as a leader? Okay, this should now become the systemic habit, if you will. It is just built into how you practice your leadership skills every day. I love this quote here: the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. We could go down another rabbit hole with that one, but okay, first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. What's actually going on, okay, in this environment? And the last is to say thank you. And are you in your meetings, in your conversations, in your written correspondence, in any way that you're communicating with other people around you, okay, is the last thing you're doing showing your appreciation? Is it saying that you're thankful and that you're grateful? If it's not, what a good place to start, okay? It's a simple way to start impacting your ability to recognize more frequently. Here are some of the things that we want to avoid in terms of recognition. Okay, this sandwich method. Sometimes we feel like, oh, we're going to recognize our employees for something they're doing really well, and then we're going to throw in something that we're concerned with, and then we're going to end the conversation with something that that's praiseworthy, and we kind of sandwich it together or whatever. It just destroys trust. So for any of you that have been taught the sandwich method, eat the sandwich and get rid of it, because it's no longer a healthy way to show recognition in the workplace, nor how to have a difficult conversation, okay? Generic praise, this idea of just saying, good job, everyone. It's like, okay, that's fine. You're doing it regular, good place to start. How can you do it where you're doing it more specifically or detailed? Being inconsistent, yeah. If you just all of a sudden are saying thank you, 17 times in a month, and then all of a sudden you don't say anything, your employees are going to catch on, okay? The people around you are like, okay, that doesn't mean as much, or, oh, they must have got told they need to do this. Maybe this is on my boss's performance plan, and so they met that. Now they don't have to do it anymore, okay? We don't want any of that. We want to be genuine and consistent. And then making sure that we're not just recognizing the same people, okay? I love public opportunities and divisions to share, shout outs of the month or employees of the week or all of that. And there's definitely a good place for those formal recognition strategies. However, through time, it seems to be like it's always kind of the same group of people getting the recognition, okay? So we've got to be mindful of that in leadership roles. How are we recognizing everyone, okay? And biggest pitfall here, we can't just rely on any kind of formal recognition strategy, okay, that your agency has in place. Should you use them? Yes. The on-the-spot awards, the I gotcha awards, the I recognize you awards, I've heard all the different things, and such cool, creative, fun things to do in a workplace. So rely on that, yes. But if that's all you rely on to show recognition, you're not going to be as successful, okay? You've got to get creative in your own ability to lead, with recognition is just part of who you are. If all of this just seems like, I don't even know where to start, this is where you should start. At a minimum, just start seeing people. When you're walking down the hallway, when you walk into your office, when you walk by your employees, when you see somebody in the break room, when you're on a virtual call and the meeting doesn't start till 10 and it's 9:56, say hi, have some conversation, start just seeing people. Hold the doors open for people, start smiling, right? Having some conversation, start seeing people as people. That is the minimum best place to start because I almost said shart. That would have been awful. And now I just said it. So that's a good place to start showing recognition. Okay, please don't remember that happened. Here are, I'm zooming through, man. I didn't think I'd take this long. I always am a little long-winded. Couple steps to do. Start knowing, and most important, how to recognize your employees individually. Okay, do they like public or private recognition? Do they like written or verbal recognition? Do they like formal, informal? If you have not done this already, at your next one-on-ones, I would challenge you, if I could enforce this, I would have this discussion with each of your employees. Get to know how they like to be recognized. You don't want to embarrass them, and you don't want it to be, you want it to be as meaningful as possible. And sometimes even with our best efforts and best intent, it doesn't land as well as we had hoped. So if you don't know this about your employees, get to know. Incorporate in every meeting, regardless if it's a formal staff meeting or not, every meeting, spend some time having shout outs, people giving the ability to catch someone doing something right or doing something well, being able to shift the energy from, hey, let's get down to business, to, hey, let's show some appreciation. Okay, let's celebrate for a minute and have some good conversation. That's another good practice to implement here. And then in a digital world, everything is done digitally, okay? And is there still value in that? Absolutely. But there is far more value, especially nowadays, in handwritten notes. I have kept a box of thank you cards in my bag since high school. Okay, and when I see something happen or something happens to me that I am grateful for, her being able to take the time to write a quick thank you on that is something I have just done, whether I'm supervising them or not. Okay, just for the people around me. It is not hard. It is very simple, and it means more people tend to keep that kind of stuff more often and refer back to it than just digital recognition. So use that manual labor, if you will, to show your recognition. We can measure success. How do we know it's working? We can look at our engagement scores, the morale, our productivity. Where are we at now? Where do we want to be this next year after we've implemented the components of RISE? Okay. Second option here, look at our retention rates. How are we doing the next year after we've incorporated RISE as well? A couple different ways we can look at how are we doing in terms of our recognition. Are we keeping our people? And if we are they happy, productive, engaged employees? Okay. So just in summary here, right, this crisis, this idea of turnover or losing good talent it is really high right now. We can use recognition as a solution. Okay, we've got the RISE model to help guide us and how to be even more effective in showing our recognition. I gave you some actions here, some things that you can start implementing immediately to help make some changes there. And then hopefully we can have these better outcomes of being able to retain really good talent, okay, but to have a better culture within our teams and obviously be protecting our budgets as well. As we summarize what we went over here, remember recognition is a strategic necessity. So please remember, especially if you're in a critical role, being able to use this as a way to build that bench strength, if you will. We can use the RISE model as a checklist to help us to improve. What are we doing well? What could we be doing better? And then remembering that retention is the return on investment, right? We get to keep our good people so the good work can continue to be done. And we can model that across our divisions and agencies. Lastly here, just quick shout out again for Tara. Sign up for Psych Safety for next month. It seems like we won't see almost 2 months from now. Last Wednesday, she's going to do a great job. You've got the access there to register. So feel free to get that done and be excited to hear from Tara. It's going to be such a good topic. Thank you again for taking time to learn and to listen today. Please, please, please go and recognize someone today and make this an opportunity to supplement your good things that you're doing as leaders. I appreciate all of you. Happy holidays to all of you and take care.